Yes people, we're back with another quick tip video. So this is going to be another video showing you how to get your basses wobbling, although it's a bit more grotty I think, and it sounds a bit like this. So the way this is done is using an effect called a flanger. And what is a flanger? Well, I think the simplest way to describe it is it sounds a bit like something's running through like a jet plane engine or something. That's what it sounds like to me. So to get a bit more technical, the way a flanger works is it takes a sound and it duplicates it. One of these sounds stays consistent and true to how it sounds, whereas the other one is ever so slightly delayed and then has an LFO on it to reduce and then increase that delay time ever so slightly, which gives it that wavy kind of jet plane effect. As with the last couple of videos, I'm going to flash ChatGPT up on the screen quickly because it's probably going to do a much better job at explaining things than I could. But what might be easier than trying to explain what I mean is to just show you what I mean. Okay, so let me give you a quick example of this effect in context. I'll just play a little clip of one of these new tunes that I'm working on. I'll play it from the second half of the drop so you can really hear the effect in action. So here we go. Okay, so the effect in question, or the flange in question, I should say. So firstly, we got it here. And if we turn the effect off, just as a little comparison. So yeah, this effect, and it also happens here at the end of the phrase as well. I might as well play that. Right, okay, so let's just take a quick dive into this. So the Ableton phaser as standard is stereo. So what that means to say is the LFO on the effect is panning left and right. So in fact, if I just drag this out of the group, because the group here has got a mono one. Okay, so you can really hear that. You can really hear the jet effect too. So yeah, that's panning between the speakers, whereas the way I've got it set up with the mono, it sounds like this. As opposed to, so nowhere near as wide. Here's the thing, the way I've set it up, you don't need to do it like that. You could bring the phase down here from 180 to 0. And you can hear that's having the same effect as... It's not exactly the same. So again, that's something to bear in mind and play around with. The reason I've set it up going into the mono as opposed to turning the phase all the way down to 0 is when I compared the two, I just thought it sounded better when it was going into the mono. Now that could probably be because there's various effects on the actual synth itself, which in this case is vital. So let me just, again, I'll set it up, a little quick comparison of the two. Okay, so I've just bounced those two, one using the mono method, one using the phase at 0 method. This is without processing, by the way, because obviously that sound's got a lot of processing on and sends returns, whatever. Anyway, so the mono sounds like this. And then the phase at 0 sound sounds like this. I mean, I think it does, personally, I think it sounds a little better on the mono one. I think if we look visually here, it seems a bit louder, because as we all know, if it's louder, it's better, supposedly. Okay, so when using this method, as with the previous ones, there's no definitive settings, but there's definitely certain ballparks you need to be in, if that makes sense. So let me explain what I mean here. So we've already covered this whole phase sort of stuff and making sure the signal's mono, so I won't go too much into that. But the other things to remember is, well, if you are using the whole mono method, as I have done in this tune, the LFO here, so the rate you put will be doubled. So what I mean by that is, if I put this rate 1/4, because that's simple. So the LFO for 1/4 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, like wob, 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 wob. Whereas here, it's going to be double that. Wob, 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 wob. Yeah, so... Whereas in actual fact, what it should sound like is... So the reason it's doubled is because of that whole phase thing. So, you know, bear that in mind if you do go down this route. The other thing I've noticed as well, and I'm not 100% sure if what I'm saying here is correct, so please feel free to correct me in the comments, but my suspicion is the primary cause of this wob being this high pass down here. And the reason I suspect that is if you use an EQ or anything to create like a high pass or low cut or whatever you want to call it, that is going to be causing some resonance on the sound. So if we've got that happening in the flanger, there's some resonance happening, we're going to get some new harmonics and some new sounds coming out from this effect. So the high pass at 361, if I take the high pass all the way down to 20 hertz, where nothing's being cut off essentially, you don't hear that wobble. If we put the high pass all the way to 5000 hertz, it sounds like this, which is exactly the same as when it's on 0. However, if I just increase the frequency of this high pass filter, you'll really start to hear those wobbles become prominent as we get to that kind of sort of low mid frequency range. So and then eventually it starts to go. So yeah, that's one thing to bear in mind. So, and then the other things to bear in mind is the delay time and the feedback. So the delay time, is going to affect how much wobble there is, which might sound weird because obviously we've got this LFO down here doing that wobble. But if I reduce this delay time, we start to lose that wobble. So even though this LFO is down here, you can hear in the background there's that little wobble going on. But yeah, that delay time is having quite a large effect. The feedback, again, you've got to find the sweet spot. I don't think, I mean, you do want some feedback, but if we turn this feedback all the way down, there is still that wobble there, and if we increase it, yeah, it just sounds awful. But yeah, that's just a couple of things that are worth bearing in mind. But yeah, I mean, that's about it, really. Again, another quick little video, but the important thing is take this, have a play, try doing different things with it, see what you can make. Yeah, you might find it useful. If you have found it useful or interesting, please do considering doing all the generic YouTube stuff of liking, commenting and subscribing. It does help the channel out massively. If there's any sort of videos that you'd like to see, like with tutorials or tips or whatever, please do let me know in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you later.